before that, there was a break of about 1 hour, and
Mm.
I thought I'd sit in the veranda, but never did. A courier man came and wanted. He, I don't believe this, Just because I have an Indian face, the Indian courier man comes and says to me, "What can I do? Can you help?" And I said, "Yeah, we will do
Hello,
that."
Mr. David. Now, live, start.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Anda, are you there? We've lost Anda. Oh,
I'm back.
yes, you're back. Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are across the globe. We have kickstarted the 10 news. I do sincerely apologize for the delay, but due to technical issues, we had to hold back a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, without much delay, I'm going to take you through with a lady all the way from Cape Town. Her name is Anda. Anda's main theme of work has been in the area of as a coach. Anda has been working with multiple platforms of people. She is a co-founder of Fire to Wire. She also does quite a lot of work on her own in HR. So she's getting a lot of corporate clients working, they're coming through there. But the key essence is she's running a foundation, and I'll let her tell you that story. She's running a foundation that is going to help a lot of people who do have a issue or concern. I won't get into the details of it. I want Anda to disclose that for you because she's going to run webinars through the course of this year. Without much ado, let me introduce you and get Anda on board to share her perspective. And then we can just briefly outline the aspects of your foundation and then we can get a deep dive into it.
David, thank you so much, and welcome everyone who have joined us this afternoon from wherever you are in the world. So, my Anelda Grobbelaar Bibi Foundation came to be established 23 years after the stillbirth of my second daughter, Bibi. We called Anelda Bibi. And we really established this foundation because when Bibi was stillborn, we didn't really know how to deal with this. What do we do when it's her birthday or the anniversary of her death? Um, because she was 9 months and she just didn't have any breath. So Lanaki, my eldest daughter, when she was 8 years old, came home one day very excited, saying she knows what we can do to celebrate Bibi's birthday. So I said, "What are we doing?" And she said, "We're going to have angel parties for children with cancer at CHOC, which is the Children's Hospital at Tygerberg in Cape Town." And then she was very excited, saying all the presents that our friends would have given to Bibi, we can give to these children. So for the last 20 years, we have been doing angel parties for children with cancer at CHOC every year to celebrate Bibi's birthday. And last year, we just grew it into the foundation. So this year, we're going to be establishing the foundation. We're going to grow the foundation so that we can do so much more for the children. But in conjunction with that, with David's assistance, I have developed a mastermind on finding your purpose in your journey from grief to gratitude. And really, that is done so that we can support the parents, the siblings, and also the caregivers, because we forget that the doctors and the nurses in the hospital becomes attached to these children because they're often there for quite extended periods of time. And sadly, when these children do pass away, the caregivers, the hospital staff, grieve as much as what the parents do. So that really is my story with my foundation.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anda. Uh, Not parking that aside, but moving sideline to that, I would like you to address the area of a future life designer. What does that mean from your perspective? Because you have claimed to do that. What are you doing in that, and where does this lead you to in connection with Beauty Foundation?
David, thank you so much for that question. So, I refer to myself as a future life designer, and the reason for that is my life's work is to take this raw human experience, the kind that breaks you open, and and then translate that into a language of purpose, power, and service. So, my brand, finding your purpose in your journey from grief to gratitude, isn't a catchy phrase. It's the lived arc of my story. It's the process of taking life's deepest fractures, the loss, the disruption, the pain that makes you question everything in your life, um, not just bouncing back, but consciously, intentionally alchemizing it into a greater source of fuel, purpose, and a profound, grounded gratitude. I teach this from a place because I lived this curriculum. And it's not theory that I studied, it's my path that I walked and that I continue to walk. So, my work is not about abstract motivation, it's practical, gritty navigation system formed in the storm of my life. And this brand is my anchor because it keeps me truthful. It keeps me honest. It keeps my work centered on transformation and not just transaction. But it also allows me to look somebody in the eye when they are facing their own valley to say, I understand, and there is a way through this.
Right. That leads us, ladies and gentlemen, learning to co-create your world, your way. I hope you understand the logic and how we are flowing here. Anna has that credentials to now move into a subject that's going to impact you, my friend. Conversions into your intention. What are you going to do? Let's just not look at 10 years from now. Just look at 226 this year. Transforming your life, leadership with a vision board. And that's the intent of us bringing this together so you can then see how it can help you. And before we start on that subject, I'd like you to sort of share how did you get involved in vision boarding and any experience of that, such that others can see your track record. Because I'm one of the key persons who talk about doing the walk before you do the talk. And I'd like you to share that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I get very excited when I have to talk about this because I started working with David 3 years ago. And at that point in time, I thought my life was on the right track. I had a good job, I had a stable income, I have a great house, I've got a beautiful family. But there was always something lacking. You know, when you sort of just feel like you're drifting like a boat without an anchor on the open sea, that's what I was doing. I was drifting. My life was good, there was nothing wrong with it. And then David came along and said, you need to do a vision board and you need to do goals and you need to put it into the 4 quadrants. And I went, okay. So I did the vision board and I created the 4 quadrants. And we'll talk about the quadrants a little bit later. And I started achieving the things that was on my vision board. And since I've worked with David over the last 3 years, I'm just going to tell you very briefly about the major things that happened. Um, I was fortunate enough to be invited to talk on California TV, which was streamed to about 450,000 people about my story with Bibi. I've appeared on 10 Years Live with David 5 or 6 times, being able to share my story and experience and everything else that I've achieved in the meantime. I have co authored 5 books with people from across the world, and one of those books last year reached the number one best selling book in 2 categories on Amazon. Um, I have established the Bibi Foundation finally, which really I feel is the jewel in my crown. So, if anybody is wondering whether vision boards actually work, it does. But I need to tell you that vision boarding isn't just about taking beautiful pictures out of a magazine and sticking it onto a board and then take your board and put it in the cupboard or put it behind the door. You need to look at your vision board. Then you need to set your goals in each quadrant. You need to have a plan how you're going to achieve those goals. And then you need to work your plan. So in my office, I have my vision board over there. I have my annual calendar with things that I need to do every single day to keep me on track. I have my affirmations over there. And my affirmations really are my memos. My vision board is my CEO. So it's a non negotiable strategic plan that I have. Over here, I have actually written my 2026 story. And that 2026 story is a vivid narrative written from the future, and that's my character. So every morning when I get up, I look at my vision board, I stand there, and I feel this. I talk to it. I look at my board of directors, like, as I call all these things. And what has changed is that I'm no longer a passenger reacting to the terrain. I've now become an intentional pilot of my life with a flight plan. And while I know I can't control the weather, it's going to start raining outside soon, but I am in charge of the direction, the altitude, and the mindset with which I navigate my life now.
Fabulous, fabulous. Now, ladies and gentlemen out there, just watch the trail of thought here. Learning to co-create your world your way, and that's basically what it is. As Anders said, it's not just cutting pictures. There's a science behind it, and the connection of your body, mind, and spirit with the universal laws, plus the thing called action. Unless you put that in a certain way, none of this is going to materialize. So we're going to walk you through that in the next 20, 25 minutes. Yes, it's going to be a ski over topic, primarily because there's so much to cover, but we actually have this as a philanthropic offer to a lot of people out there who are looking at ways in which they can streamline their life and come up with a better approach to how they could navigate through, as Anders said, the journey of life. Okay, so let me just deep dive here. And the question, who now, I'm going to ask you, who is leading your life?
So now my vision leads my life. Okay. Because I just said that my vision board is my CEO. It's my non negotiable plan. I have a strategic plan that I follow. I don't need to drift aimlessly around on the sea anymore. I've got a compass. I know where I'm going to. I've got steps to follow. So, what's happened with the vision board is that previously, um, if I really had to be brutally honest, the answer to this question would be that my circumstances led my life, my grief led my life, other people's expectations and urgencies led my life, my own reactive habits led my life. I was talented, I was driven, and I was a high performance passenger in my own life. And I constantly had to swerve to avoid the potholes chosen by somebody else's map in my life. So having the vision board, the goals, the affirmations, um, after I had to sit down and take deliberate actions and actually engage into difficult practices because discipline comes into play here. And if you're not disciplined and you don't work your plan, nothing's going to happen. So, with clarity, I can say my vision board leads my life today.
Fabulous. Deep diving further, intentions, that word intentions, is a word that we use very common with a lot of people today. My question now is, what does it actually mean to you? And when you extract intentions from that, Where is that navigating you to? How did you come to that? And what are your end results out of it? Just look at it for a year, 2026.
Um, David, thank you for this. Is quite a critical question because we have the goals on our vision board in the four quadrants, and being goal orientated is primarily about the destination that you're going to be reaching. That's it.
We have lost you for a minute. Your volume, voice.
Am I back?
Yes,
Okay. So when we talk about intentions, there's going after your goals, but then there's also leading with intention. Going after your goals, it's an external thing and it's about the destination. It's about getting that book deal, getting the house, getting the revenue target. And there's nothing wrong with that. Goals are essential markers. But when you lead with intention, it's about the quality of the journey that you undertake. And it becomes about the character of the traveler. And it asks, who do I choose to become whilst pursuing these things? What is the spirit that I undertake these things in? Intention is the energy behind the action. It's the why and the who wrapped together. Let me give you a practical example. You can achieve every single goal on your vision board and still feel a hollow emptiness if the pursuit eroded your health, you neglected your relationships, or you compromised on your integrity. So you arrive at this destination and you think, is this it? Really? Is this what I was chasing? So the goal then becomes this external trophy that you can hold up and say, look at me, I've achieved. But when you work with intention, um, it ensures that your goals are aligned with meaning. If your intention is to lead with vitality and connection, then the goal of growing my business must be pursued in ways that honor your health and that nurture your team. The goal is the target, the intention is your ethos. One gives you an outcome, and the other one gives you identity. And that's the difference.
that's the key. Many do not understand this concept of moving in with your identity and traveling the journey with your identity. It's only when you play with that do you ever get to this concept of fulfillment. Everyone wants a happy life, but true fulfillment is not achieved until that is done, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just take it a step further. And we've been talking a lot about this four quadrants and this part of life and everything. Would you like to elaborate on that aspect, please?
Sure, thank you so much. When I started working with you, I realized very quickly that you cannot compartmentalize a human being. When you work with your life, you need to have a holistic view and vision. So if you are building your success only in your quadrant of career, you're building a skyscraper on a foundation of sand, and sooner or later it's going to wobble and it's going to crack. So we divide our lives into four quadrants, and the four quadrants are all interconnected. The first one is your career and business. This is your legacy and your contribution. This is where you create value in the world, where you serve, where you build your legacy. And it's not just a job, it's an expression of your gifts. The second quadrant is family. That's your roots, your connection, your anchor. It's your intimate relationships, your home, your foundation. And intention here is about presence, love, and being the cornerstone for your loved ones. We have social recreation, which is vitality, and joy. And this is an incredibly important quadrant because this is where you fill your cup. This is your energy renewal system. So this encompasses your friends, your community, adventure, play, hobbies. This quadrant refills that well that all the other quadrants are drawing from. And leaders who neglect to pour into this quadrant are starting to pour from the empty cup. And sooner or later, they'll be depleted and have nothing left to give. So this becomes an incredibly important quadrant to fill your cup so that you can be complete.
One
And then,
one moment, Hector, we are losing you again. Can you do some adjustment there?
can you hear me now?
Yes, 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 yes. Very good.
Okay, where did you lose me?
You're explaining the details of the last element.
Okay. So then the very last quadrant is spirituality. This is what gives meaning to your inner world. And this is your connection to something greater, and this is your inner sanctum. It's your faith, it's meditation, it's nature, it's deep reading, it's silence. This quadrant is where intention is born and nurtured. This is your core. So this quadrant, as you can see, dovetail extremely importantly with all the other quadrants. So if you neglect one of these quadrants, your whole structure becomes unstable. Your vision board, therefore, needs to have pictures, goals, words in each quadrant because your vision board is that visual contract with yourself to lead a whole life.
Great, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen out there, the four quadrants, as you just expressed, Randa. When you image that in, imagine a circle, and each of those quadrants take the peripherals of the circle. But guess what's in the center of that circle? The royal you. And unless you look at that constantly, which is what Anders spoke of earlier, and start refueling that constantly with the elements that you need, not food. I'm talking about mental food. And we will express that later, probably in another session. That mental food is what's going to spiral you up in times when you do come down. And at the same time, it helps nurture and build your identity because that identity is what's going to take you through torrid times and good times to scale up your fulfillment. So understand this whole concept of having the four quadrants and working with it. Now, when you have that pictured, like what Enda has done on a vision board, now you've got to start looking at what you need to do, how you need to navigate, what do you need to slice down, what are the patterns of work, what are the modalities. All of that will be covered, not today, but in time. Thank you so much there, Enda. Truly appreciate that. Now, following the four quadrants, let's now deep dive into an example. I want people to understand this, and I'm going to get you to share in time an example. Let me just share one from in India. When I did this first vision board for a property developer and a banking institution, their employees, this lady came up very openly and she said, I don't believe in vision boards. I've had a land, a property, a land of dirt, we call it in Australia, along OMR Road. This is in Chennai, along OMR Road on the beach side. And we've had it for nearly 9 years and we're thinking of selling it off. So when she decided to put herself on the floor with the rest of the people there and started cutting pictures and imaging it in, I use the word imaging it in, not imagination, huh? Imaging that picture in. Now, when she went through that process, she was laughing at it and thinking it's not going to work, blah, 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 blah. But over the course of being accountable for it with a couple of accountability partners, By 3 months, when she was into the third month, she was actually walking, talking that home. And let me just explain to you what that home was that she spoke about. It was a beautiful avenue of palm trees, your driveway into the home. And Raz would say, as I get to the driveway, it's a circular driveway. I would climb up 8 steps. And at the entrance, walking into, I have a huge lounge that opens straight out into the ocean. That's a view, that's an image. On the left hand side is a circular staircase that takes it upstairs. On the right hand side is a sunken lounge. Abutting that sunken lounge is a kitchen that opens up into a barbecue area and a swimming pool. So, can you imagine this picture is a picture of a home that you've always wanted but never even thought about it? But she started playing around with it, talking about it, and blow me day. 18 months from the day she did that, just like what Enda's going through, that materialized. Even she started putting together the finite elements of what the light fittings were like, what the curtains were like, what the bathroom taps were like. Now, that's the precision in which this went through. This thing works. It's not magic, it just works. It's real stuff. When you understand what I call the synchronity between your body, mind, and spirit, the four quadrants, the universal law, and you, the skipper of your life. Anna, please share a story of that that's come true for you.
Thank you, David, for your beautiful example. I think, this perfectly illustrates that feeling and identity that directs your actions and not the other way around. So, for me, one of the powerful examples would be in 2024, I achieved my goals by July. And in October, David asked me, "What are you going to do for the rest of the year?" And I have always had this image of seeing myself as vibrant and free. So I thought, I'll just run 10 kilometers. Not difficult for me. But I need to tell you, I haven't ran in 30 years. So my goal wasn't to run a marathon. The intention behind this image of me running the 10 kilometers was vitality, freedom, and joyful strength. That's what I wanted. That was the image that I had in my mind. So I started not taking the lift, but taking the stairs, and I started walking, I started running, and I started working on a plan every single day. And the identity that I created was I am a vital person, led to action. And 3 months later, at the end of December, I ran the 10 kilometers. The goal was achieved. But I think the true winning was reclaiming that identity of being true, vital, energetic person. And not just
Voice.
kilometers. And that, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So that 10 kilometers that I ran and completed led to a whole host of other things. So in 2025, I did my first ever Titan race. And in 2026, my vision board has a picture of me completing the Iron Man. However, the universe stepped in and I fell a week ago, had surgery because I broke my shoulder, tore the rotator cuff, and all the muscles around it. But all that it meant is that I actually just needed to redirect my goals. Uh, so the goals, when you achieve them, gives you that identity. And I think that is so important.
So true. So true. Moving on from that, I'd like to share another story. And all the stories that I'm sharing with most people, and same with Anda, are real life instances of manifestation that's come true from what they have worked on because of the belief, the faith, and they fully immerse themselves in the task of doing it. Shortly, we'll get into some of the activities that you need to get to understand this. When I was in Chennai back in 2003, 2, 3, I met a couple who was under IVF program, and they unfortunately were trying for about 2 years for a child. And the wife befriended me, was talking, and we were having coffee one day, and she explained the pain that they have an extended family. They come from an Islam family, a Muslim family, and they have an extended environment. And she was explaining how things are not working primarily because she's always wanted a child and not able to do it. And things like that. So I said, why don't you try this? Have you ever thought of getting a nursery up and going? And she said, yeah, we did, but not much happened from it. I said, okay, we're going to go through a vision board exercise with you. But at the same time, I want you to turn on and start talking to your doctor differently, start looking at it from a perspective of how can you now enrich your life with the baby, etc. There's a few other things we went through. Key element, from the time that we spoke, 8 months to that date, she fell pregnant, not through IVF. Okay? Now, watch this. In that 8 months, she had created a nursery, and I've been up there a number of times. I know the grandfather and the parents and all of that, and they always welcomed you at home for whatever reasons, and they loved it. I love their company also. Went upstairs and I looked at her room for the child. Startling, she put finite detail of what the cot is going to look like, what the paintings and the little, I don't know what you call that. Do you know what the little things that dangle in front of the babies as a sleep? And what do you call
That
those things?
spiral thingy.
Sorry, the what?
That spiral thingy. I think it's
Yeah,
called a carousel.
it's called the what? Sorry?
Carousel.
Oh, the carousel. Yeah, the carousel. And it goes with all these colors, and she was playing, and she was like a child. Okay, now many think, oh, what's this? But actually, what it is she's fully immersing herself as though she's living that experience. And you know what? She does that 3, 4 times a day. And that's what journeyed her for 8 months. Now, not only did she have her first child, a boy, 9 months after the birth of the first child, the second baby girl came. Don't play around with this. Don't play around with this, is all I can say. Fantastic. And
Sure,
I'm going
that actually gives me quite chills to listen to that story of how your dreams can come true when you work
yes.
with your vision board.
Exactly, exactly. Let me deep dive into some of the practices, and I need you to sort of talk a little bit about the GPS, the Northern Star, and purpose. How does that fit in here, all of this?
Okay, so my 2026 story, this big emotional why, what am I going to achieve this year, is my ultimate destination. And that's my Northern Star. But the quarterly goals that I've got up here, the affirmations that I've got up here, those are my GPS because that's what's helping me to take the next right turn. They're very specific, they're actionable, and some of them are time bound. So every Sunday, I sit with my vision board, my goals, and I see what did I do in the last week? And I ask the question. For example, if I look at my family quadrant, was I truly present or was I just physically there? If I look at my recreational quadrant, did I do something that really brought me joy or not? And this 20-minute revision um, tells me you've steered 5 degrees off your course. You need to course correct. So you don't lose 50 miles, you only lose 5 degrees. And when you do that, when you look at what do I need to do for the next week, you ask, where is my energy going to go to? Where is my time going to go to? What am I going to focus on that will align me with my vision for these areas in my life? And that's what I do, because if you don't do that, if you don't check where you're going to, if you don't measure what you're doing, it goes astray very quickly.
How true, how true. Now, why is purpose so important, guys? Because if you don't have purpose, you're going to drift, and your drifting doesn't matter how much you course correct it. It's like the two monkeys sitting up inside your head. You know how monkeys can't sit in one still position? So they're jumping from pillar to post, pillar to post, pillar to post, and that's what's happening. So when you do that mentally, lack of clarity appears. And lack of clarity is distorting everything around you. So the ideal situation is to course correct and have the purpose. And we work on that. We teach people how to get their purpose. And then through that process, cement that purpose. Not just get a purpose and blah, blah, blah. Cement that purpose. Practice that purpose. And work it through till you achieve it. My whole avenue of opening as an accountant, I had nothing to do with coaching, had nothing to do with this area that we talk about. But 3 decades ago, I decided to course correct. And my purpose back then, in the mid 90s, was put as follows: to create a mindset shift, a heart set shift, and a soul set shift in 1 million people, uplifting their lifestyle and that of their next generation, thereby leaving behind a legacy for them. Now, when you have something as strong as that, nothing stops you. How do you maintain that strength in it? Through these vision boards, through accountability partners. So that's what we talk about alignment, and that's what we talk about syncing. And this whole process of aligning yourself with your four quadrants, with you in the center, and then working through it diligently, fully immersed 24 bar 7. That doesn't mean you don't go to sleep. It really means even sleep is an effective process you go through whilst you're visioning. Because one of the exercises Anders spoke about at the start, the early morning ritual that you do before you even jump out of bed, there are 5 practices we get people to do whilst they're still in bed. And that kickstarts your day. How? It's like warming your engine up, lubricating the valves so it can flow smoothly. Human beings are the same. So all of these are what we call synchronity to align you. And that's the power of what we're talking about, friends. Don't miss out on the opportunity of actually partnering with MRM. That's the community that we are working with. To have a look at where can this take you and your family. Right, and moving in. Would you like to share another story?
Um, yeah, I can share another story of where wa- I was working at a company for 10 years, and I walked outside this company towards the end of 2024, and I looked at this company and I thought, next year you're not going to be in my life. But I didn't know why. And in February 2025, I actually left the company. And what happened was that synchronicity started taking place in my life. So I said that I wanted to be seen as this visionary, taking grief to a global purpose. That's what I want to do. I want to help people to work through their grief so that they don't become stuck in their grief, but that they can actively move forward and have a fulfilled life. But if I'd stayed in that job, I wouldn't be able to do that. So leaving the company has now opened up a whole new space for me, and it's given me speaking engagement opportunities. I've spoken at a global summit on trauma recovery about Ibby's story, finding your purpose in your journey from grief to gratitude. I have been invited to be a guest on different podcasts. I have, like I said in the beginning, co authored 5 books. But if I'd stayed in the job that I was in with that client, I wouldn't have had the time to do all these things. So, this is what happens when you consciously make a decision and when your intention is set correctly. Saying yes to the right opportunities and saying no to the distracting ones.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much, Enda, for that. Let's now deep dive into a couple of other best practices modalities within us. I would like you to address the concept of, primarily because this is powerful for people to understand, the gatekeeper, and how one controls the thought process, the thinking process of the achievement of what is going to happen to them following the creation of the vision board and then journeying through the GPS. Thank you.
Okay, so I love my gatekeeper, as you know. The gatekeeper is this little security guard that stands next to your head that regulates which thoughts enters your mind, because every day there's 360,000 thoughts that are wanting to rush into your mind. Now, can you imagine? Um, I think India is a really good example of all these vehicles on the roads and they just go. And the one who gets to the crossing first, he's the one that can go. So if we didn't have the gatekeeper, that is what would happen to our minds. Some of the thoughts would get stuck because there's one thought that needs to get in before all the others can actually move. Having the gatekeeper in place creates an opportunity for you to make informed quality decisions, because you only need to deal with 2 or 3 thoughts at a time and not with 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. And that's the value of the gatekeeper. Your clarity is so much better. Your quality of your decisions is so much better. And because your quality of decisions is so much better, it impacts your relationships with other people. And it impacts your communication with other people. But I think the important thing is that when you don't have a gatekeeper and you've got all these thoughts rushing through your mind, you tend to react to situations. But now you've got the gatekeeper and you can actually stand back, have a look at what is happening, decide what is the best way to go. So now instead of reacting to something, you respond to something. And that's the difference.
And that full immersion, when you have that gatekeeper and this power of full immersion, things automatically begin to go because now you've got clarity of thinking and the process that you're going to work with on the thoughts that you've retained to now turn around and say, that is what I'm focusing on. The main thing being the main thing, as opposed to 1,001 other things. That's the power of the gatekeeper, guys. So when you have that, we now turn around and look at what can the gatekeeper do in addition to that. By just having a gatekeeper, is that going to fix me? No. There is 90 plus modalities. Let me open up another one for you to get a feel for. Enda, would you like to talk about how through the gatekeeper you're going to fully immerse and then immerse into the imaging of the vision board?
So when you have this gatekeeper and you do your course correction every Sunday when you check where you are at, it brings you back to the road that you're supposed to be on. And because you get back to the road that you're supposed to be on, your alignment comes back into play. So what happens now is that you're not sitting there thinking, I have a vision board, I have goals that I need to achieve. I don't actually have the time today to work on that. The gatekeeper helps you with your discipline. The gatekeeper allows you to have the time to do the two or three tasks that you identify to achieve every single day. And that's the difference because when you take this consistent action every single day, that is what's helping you to achieve your vision board goals.
The interesting thing is, many people don't realize, as I said earlier, when Anna opened up the four quadrants, and I said the core of it is you. And unless you do something with you, all of these other things don't happen. Manifestation doesn't come into play. So, what is this core thing in you that you got to work on? I use it very simply to explain to people this way. Imagine you just went and bought a new laptop, state of the art machine, but in the operating system, rather than running with the most current operating system called, let's say it's Windows 12, as an example, you're telling the guy that's installing it, say, no, 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 no. I want you to put Windows 1 because 1 is a good number for me. Now, when you put Windows 1, guess what's going to happen? It's going to operate, probably, but not as effectively as Windows 12. And what's happening is most of us have an antiquated operating system inside. Yay, we've got PhDs, 1,001 of them. But the system that's operating inside is so antiquated that it is not in sync with what's the aligned thing that you want. That's why I always keep saying to people, preparedness meets opportunity. And the preparedness is not going and getting a degree. The preparedness is getting this inside of you working in line with all the flow of energy that's around. Mental energy, physical energy, intelligence, everything that's around. Now, it takes time and effort. It doesn't happen automatically. We spoke about three things that you, sorry, I beg your pardon, five things that you would do at the start when you get up before you even hop out of bed. Anda is a founder of Brightwire, which is a subsidiary of MRM in South Africa. And they go through a morning ritual, 4:45, 5:30 in the morning. And during that course, they do certain mental gymnastics. The same thing we do in India. And we have other things called wind up and wind down. All of those activities get people to be at the cutting edge. So your knife is sharpened and you can slice through an apple without knife work. Friends, that is the issue that many people don't realize. They think, okay, let me put a vision board out, let me dream about my goals, let me do my affirmations, and voila, things are going to happen. Nay, not going to be that. And deep dive into another practice, one that is most closest to your heart that is linked up to the vision board. I'm not going to
It's
say,
NENN, and it
ha,
stands for no excuses, no negativity. And it's probably the most hardest modality to master. And it sounds really simple, but it's not. And David threw out a challenge in the beginning for us when we were introduced to this modality that we need to practice this for 90 days in order to master this. I got to day 78, so close, and I just lost it, unfortunately. And I sent David a WhatsApp and I said, this is what happened, and I'm in tears because I've broken my NENN, and I got no response. Just no response. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when you can master living with no excuses and no negativity, you are in control of your life. And that's the big thing. Whether you achieve your 90 days or whether you achieve 78 days, if you can master this modality, you control your life.
the bottom line on all of this, my friends, is to understand your mind and realize everything that we're looking at in manifesting. through this intention process is you are in control. You create this neuroplasticity in here. You either have a mind that neuroplasticity is in such a way that it's happy to germinate seeds that are planted, or it doesn't do it. And I'm going to throw another question at some of you to think about it. I have 10 seeds in my hand and I go and plant it. Why is it that only 4 or 5 of them germinate and the rest don't? Ponder over it. I'll come back with the answer later. But the key point to understand is you need and you are in control. Like what Andy has done, she's navigated through, got the process in place, and then she's doing the practices. It just doesn't happen by magic. So, the other practice that I would like to touch on for each person to look at and realize is the power that's in your hands. Because whoever you believe in, whoever your creator is, whatever religious following you take, or even if you're an atheist, it doesn't matter. There is somebody created in you that has created you and given you one gift. And that gift, in my opinion, is the breath of air. Nothing surpasses that. That breath of air has been graciously given to you to live, to breathe. My question is, what are you doing with that breath of air? Are you putting it to good use? Or are you frivolously throwing it away? Either way, it's okay. But once you're here, why don't you do something about it and put it to good use, such that others can benefit from it? And that's the intention that we have come up here to talk to people about and get them enlightened. Because one of my main heartbreaks is to see people not consciously aware of these some practices. So take stock, my friend. Take stock. And talk about one game, not 1001. I know you've got a lot, but one game that was so close to your heart because of mastering this vision board exercise.
I think the biggest gain close to my heart is the opportunity that I get continuously on different platforms to tell the story of Billy and how we navigated our journey from grief to gratitude to find this purpose to start the angel parties and now to eventually launch the foundation. Because when I do that, I can show people you don't have to be stuck in your grief. Grief can immobilize you, or grief can make you grow, but the choice is yours at the end of the day. And when you are immobilized by grief, you live life on autopilot and you miss out on such a fulfilled life that you can experience. And that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing, so that I can help people to live this fulfilled life after grief.
When you do that, there's always, I'm a firm believer of the sine curve. Anything that goes up comes down. There's a sign up and down, up and down, up and down. So for every gain, there could be 10 downturns. Okay? As I said to you earlier, when you have 10 seeds in your hand and you germinate them, you pour them, and only 4 grows or 5 grows. Why is that? Very simple. Don't point your finger at anybody else. Point it at yourself, because each time you point it out there, three is pointing back. What is the three pointing back at you? The reason why the 6 other seeds did not germinate, very simply put, that outer shell that's there is resisting the insuction of water. Unless water percolates into the seed, it will never crack open the shell for the seed to begin to germinate, for the little sprout to come through that thick shell. And who is in charge of that shell, I should say? You, the royal you. So, when we have things, when we are negative, when we have this ego that says, I think I know it, who are you to tell me? Straight away things happen against you, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry to say, put it very bluntly. So take stock of all of these things. Join the dots, my friends. That's what got Steve Jobs to where he is. So you understand this science of the universe, the science of the individual, the science of the purpose, the science of manifestation, pull them all together and see where it takes you in life. I want to look at and very quickly summarizing the daily process that she goes through. So you get a feel for how huge an element is out there that many of us never even understood or practiced it. And that's why we are where we are. Please, Andy, the daily
Thank
process.
you so much, David. So in the morning, I come stand here and I look at my vision board. I don't just glance at it, I gaze, I connect with the feeling of each image. And then I read my core I am affirmations on the wall over there with conviction out loud. I am a visionary leader. I am a pillar of strength. I am a global voice. And this isn't wishing that I can be those things. This is embodying that identity, that future identity, now, today, this morning. Then, when I'm done, I set a guiding intention for the day. And it can be today I will lead with calm focus in all my interactions. Or today my intention is connecting deeply. Because whatever you set as your intention for the day sets the tone for your day. So I have one over there that says, I embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Because the challenges are often the things that throw you off your path. And again, you have a choice how you deal with those challenges. So once I've done that, I then look at what is my aligned actions that I need to take for one goal in each one of the quadrants. For example, if it's in my career, it might be a strategic task. If it's in my family, it might be having a complete, fully present conversation. If it's for recreation, it might be a 10-minute walk in nature. But that actions that you take consciously um, is symbolically aligned with what it is that you want to achieve. And then in the evenings, you actually reflect on your day and you go through your day and you say, what is one thing today that I did that moved that quadrant forward? How can I celebrate that internally? So, for example, I work in HR and sometimes I need to have really difficult conversations with people. But if I could have that difficult conversation with grace, I can then say,
Voice.
if I can have that tough conversation with grace, I can say I've achieved something. And when you do that, this acknowledgement that you give to your achievement encodes the progress into your subconscious mind. And it tells your brain this path actually works. You need to stay on it because this identity is real. But it takes discipline, faith, and commitment. And to daily do these repetitions of aligning your thoughts, your visions, with your feelings, and with your actions, and with the future that you intend to create for yourself. So you're quite literally building your new internal wiring for the next level life that you are leading. And earlier you referred to having the computer with the Microsoft One when we should have Microsoft 12. It's like somebody having this vision of being this inspired CEO, but that person operates with the mindset of an intern. Same thing. You decide where you are going to operate from.
You know how interesting this is? When I look at all of these things out there, and how much time, effort, and money people put if they wanted to construct a home. They would go and hire an architect, they'll get him to do a draft plan out, they'll roll and they pay money for that, and they'll turn around and look at how else aesthetically can the home be built, what's going to happen. And my question to each one of you out there, my friend, what is the plan of your life? Where is that life going to go? Show that to us. That is nothing else but the vision that you create, that you navigate through. Friends, take stock. We can keep going, or 226 is the day you're going to turn around, put the brakes, and say, damn it, enough is enough. I'm going to do this. And parting words to the audience.
My final parting words would be, who is leading your life? Your passing circumstances, your old wounds, your inbox, or are you going to consciously choose and vividly feel and daily honor your vision for your life in 2026? Because you see, the choice that you make is going to entail work, and work is the path to achieve your dream life. So you make the choice. Get rid of the distractions, focus on what it is that you need or want to achieve, and actively work towards that every single day. And it's that consistency that is going to give you the satisfaction at the end of the day. Thank you so
Wow.
much, David.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen out there, when you decide to soar like an eagle, is a day opener for you. Do not hold back. Do not put the brakes on your car. Allow it to ride the way your heart's calling out. Go quest it. Search for it. Treasure it. Because when you do that, you will play it forward for others to follow, giving them hope. I spell hope this way, HOPE. Help other people evolve. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye bye. Thanks, Anda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Good night, everyone. Take
Good
care.
night, everyone. Take care. Bye.